Hello, friends and beautiful people. It is Kathryn Marcel, 5D Visionary Elevated Consciousness Coach. We are in episode 23 of All Things Ascension. Today we're talking about the resonance and alchemy of power. Tasty little topic for this Friday. Maybe give you something to think about over the weekend. Hey, Kathryn. Quick announcement. If you like this talk today, this gets the creative and imaginative juices flowing and you want to take this work deeper. The In Alignment program starts on August 10th. When you join, you get all the replays from our 5-day intensive that took place a month ago. So you can dive right in right away. But we have a live bonus coaching call just for the members of In Alignment Group program, and it is in our Facebook group this Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. And it is live hot seat coaching for whoever needs help shifting the challenges and issues they have now with mindset, specifically around, we're going to try to stay on target in this call, how to get your mindset right, even when it seems like everything around you in your world is crumbling. This is going to be a really powerful call. So if you are feeling the call to action to join this program, now's the time to get in. You can access all the replays from the previous class, which is powerful in its own right, very life-changing. And you're ready, you're in for the live round that starts August 10th. So, hello. So let's get into it. Let's get into this topic. We throw around the word power a lot in our Facebook communities, don't we? Especially, groups like this and Global Acceleration of Ascension. We talk about being in our power. We talk about being out of our power. We talk about, standing in our power. We talk about giving away our power, okay? We're going to clean up some of the beliefs around that are erroneous. And yet still, we may be running the show of our life from these erroneous beliefs that we can indeed, or in fact, give away our power, or not be seated in our power in some way. Those are completely false ideas about who you are and the kind of power that you possess, the force of your intent to be who you want to be, to have what you want to have is power. Your desires are power. And I'm going to talk about this and how to shift this, especially if you feel like you're in that camp of, I'm out of my power, okay? So hello, whoever is here, say hi. Hi, Dina, I'm glad you caught me live too. So like anything else on this planet, everything is energy. Everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. Everything. This pen, my glasses, my hair that is misbehaving, everything is energy. Everything has consciousness, okay? Everything is a thread of the universal matrix of the all that is, everything. There is never anything that is not that. There is never anything that does not come from consciousness itself. Everything we experience here in our 3D reality is fragments of consciousness, threads of consciousness that come from the universal matrix of the all that is, one pure source, God, whatever you want to call it. And like everything else, power is a thread of that. And like everything else, power is energy infused with meaning. Everything that we see around us is energy infused with meaning. This glass of water is energy infused with meaning. What's the meaning? To hydrate my body, to give what my cells are asking for so they can perform optimally, to help clean my body, to help alkalize my body, okay? Energy infused with meaning. This notebook is energy infused with meaning. What's the meaning? I get to pour out and brain dump what is in this skull and with this pen out on that paper. Energy infused with meaning. Power is no different. The movement of force towards an outcome is a way to further define or refine what power means. So think about that for a second. Ponder those words for a second. Power is the movement of force towards an outcome. So let's clean that up right away while we're here. Who gets to decide what the outcome is? If a further refined meaning of power is the movement of force towards an outcome, who is the decider of the outcome? We are the deciders here because we are the keepers of 3D. I know it doesn't feel that way a lot of the time, but we are. Humans are the keepers of 3D. We decide energetically what stays and what goes here in this matrix of reality. We get to decide whether the fixed ideas of what realities or this reality is stays fixed, or whether it can shift and transmute towards a different outcome. And the energy that exerts that shift of the outcome is power. Now, I know there's those of you who are saying that I feel out of my power. I don't feel in control to change my life. I've given my power away, or this theme, this event, this trigger keeps showing up and taking my power away. There is a deficit in understanding that, number one, you are a creator being of the 3D reality realm. Individually, we all contribute to that through our own individuated consciousness, meaning our own individual beliefs, our own individual thought patterns, our own individual ways of being, meaning how we take the action of or how we take the energy of our thoughts and put them into action here to start creating our reality, because everything in 3D is physical. Individually, we're all contributing to the whole collectively of what stays and what goes here in terms of what is reality in 3D. So if you are saying, I am out of my power, or I've given my power away so many times, I don't have any power left, you are telling a self-negating story to yourself. And you've created this whole backstory for yourself that is actually completely false, totally untrue. And even in that statement of, I have given away my power, I don't have any power, I don't have control over my life, I don't have an intention for my life, is another way of saying, basically, I'm out of my own power. Even behind that is power. Because to exert an outcome, to stabilize, anchor a belief, takes power. Again, your belief is just energy infused with meaning. And when we act on a belief, taking that action, moving forward and moving ahead with some belief we have, whether it's good for us or not, is also energy infused with meaning. Do you get where I'm going here? It's pretty generic because energy is just energy. And we've been habituated to putting certain things on a pedestal, right? Like money, right? Like love, whether it's, family love or, love in a relationship, sexual exchanges, your soulmate partner, support, whether it's financial or through your family or through your friends or from your children. There are certain things that we've learned ourselves into that we have to put some things on a pedestal. Money is a great example. We feel like it's something out there and not something inherently that we create from in here first. Our alignment or our relationship to money. Everything, no matter what you're putting on a pedestal, no matter how vaunted this thing is in your life and how much you worship at the foot of this thing that you want to be, do, or have, it is all just energy, the same mana from which you come from, the same mana from which you are operating from every single day in your life. And every single day in your life is a clean slate for you to decide, I'm going to have a relationship with this thing I've been worshiping in this way now. You get to decide that because that is your power. You come from power. And the greatest power and energy infused with meaning that there is, which is love. You are never not that. Again, we've been hoodwinked and swindled into believing that we come from something that is lesser than, or we've learned to be something lesser than. And so we talk ourselves out of our own self-worth We talk ourselves out of our own connection with anything that comes from love. We are born of love. We are born of power. We are born of worthiness. We are born of something so great in terms of a force of creation, and we are never not that. But in the density of this 3D reality, we've forgotten it. Part of being in this reality is going through a veil of forgetting. So when we decide to incarnate here from maybe a light being status, or maybe a previous 3D existence, or a parallel 3D existence, if you ask me, as the time bender, what we're deciding and what we know is that we are coming into a realm that is very dense. It's very heavy. It's like the universe's most challenging mystery school, Earth. It truly is. And we know this when we come here. And why everything feels so powerful and electric and palpable and chaotic and confusing right now is because we're going through this period of reckoning, of understanding, starting to just glimpse how much power we have. And sometimes that's a little frightening because we may have never known it in this lifetime. Many of us have never known what it really feels like to be empowered, speaking, acting, doing from a place of the intention of, this is what I want, this is who I am, this is what I'm after, this is who I'm becoming. A lot of us have been disenfranchised from that, from probably our whole lives since we were tiny humans, right? And so we're just starting to glimpse how much power we have in order to create our reality. The things that we see in the physical manifested world around us, we put it there. We put it all there, individually and collectively. And it is a little frightening to come to this reckoning and this reconciling of realizing that we did that. But how you shift the power around that, even the fear that you may have in saying, I'm out of my power, or did I really create that? Did I really do that to myself? Would I really have discounted myself in that way by doing that thing, being that thing, having that relationship, making those bad choices? That's power too. The self-awareness is probably the best way to wield your power. What comes next is up to you. But self-awareness is probably the most pivotal use of power that you have, is your own self-awareness. What am I doing right now? Who am I being right now? What am I thinking? What am I believing right now? When you drop into that level of awareness, that is power. So those of you who are saying, I'm out of my power, I've given my power away, stop telling yourself the bullshit and the lies. That's coming from a part of you that's your inner critic, your inner judge. How long are you going to let that aspect of self, that inner saboteur, rule the day and create the continued backstory of your life of, I never get what I want, I'm unworthy, I don't have the love I want, I don't have the money I want, I don't have the career that I want, I don't have the relationships that I want. You are creating and reliving that backstory over and over again. When does it stop? And there is no being ready to stop. There is the movement of force towards an outcome that can be a very clear statement to yourself. This changes now. That is power. Think of anything that's going on in your life right now, just right now. Drop in, be present. Don't think about it too much. Go with the first thing that comes into your mind, like, this sucks. Or I don't like this. This is diminishing my life experience. I don't like being this way. I don't like having this argument with this person or this misunderstanding. What is it right now? Go into the feeling of it. Feel the power behind that emotion. If it's self-diminishing, what does it feel like? If it's self-discounting, what does it feel like? If it makes you feel like you have an unloved part of yourself, what does that feel like? That is power. It's been power that has been unfortunately mishandled and used towards your continual and consistent self-disenfranchisement. But you get to shift it. And all it really takes is a moment of intention, conviction, and a declaration that is so simple, but with so much power and force behind it towards an outcome. Think of the thing, drop in, get present with it. Think of all the ways it's taking you out of feeling this sense of control or say so in your life. And just say it out loud. This changes now. That is you deciding to roll over that power potential of the disbelief in yourself, the mistrust of yourself, the mistrust in the universe, and just taking the energy, which is just potential. That's all energy is, it's just potential. And now you've rolled that over and you've shifted it. Why? Because it was your intention to make a change. And you as a creator being, you as the keeper, one of the keepers of the 3D matrix that decides the reality here, what stays and what goes, that's you in your power stating, this is shifting now. This is moving. And you can start working into how does that shift. And I'm going to help you with some of that here. But I want to give you some other ideas about what power is. So those of you who have that endless mantra to yourself, I've given away my power so many times, I feel like I have no power left. Bullshit. Someone's taking away my power. Bullshit. All of that is bullshit. Here's some other ways to think about what power is, meaning it is energy infused with meaning. Power is self-awareness. That's the first one, right? And we just had that little exercise with that. Power is self-love. Power is self-respect. And you can have this. I don't care how many times you've made mistakes and you keep going through this carousel of thought in your head, reliving those mistakes over and over again so that you keep yourself anchored in the emotion of this backstory of you that really is no longer valid. And it's not going to take you where you're asking to go, certainly. You can still respect and love yourself no matter how many mistakes you've made in your past, no matter how many times you feel you've wronged yourself or wronged someone else. Every day is a clean slate. The only thing that matters ever is now. There is only now. Everything else is an illusion and a projection, and usually based on what your emotional state is. When you are in a really high vibing emotional state, you tend to look back on your past with a place of self-forgiveness. You tend to look back on the things that you've done that weren't in the highest integrity as, hey, I didn't know any better at the time. When you are in a high vibrational place in your present moment, in the now, you tend to look at the future, which is totally unwritten, as a place of pure potential to explore greater outcomes of being for yourself. Do you feel the difference? Doing this right now, not through writing report cards, using this day off to create all day and connect to Mama Gaia, feels good. Yes. Yes. And with the energies that are so pervasive right now, with all the planetary shifts happening, that's just power too. It's power. How you interpret it is something that's like keeping you in bed or keeping you tired or keeping you depressed or keeping you thinking about the past. That is your decision, what you want to do with that power. Always and ever. You are a creator being and the keeper of 3D. You decide what stays and what goes. You decide. It's not taking back your power. It's taking back a fullness and a wholeness in the belief that you are power incarnate. Born out of love. And there isn't a higher power than that. There isn't a higher energetic potential than love. So you either can find ways to funnel that energy into your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions throughout the day and every day, and you just treat every day like it is its own entity. Every day is only an opportunity to experience the now, to bring into the fullness, yourself into the fullness of the now. That's the potential of every day. When you wake up in the morning, it is an opportunity for you to explore the fullness of you in the now. If that's not power, I don't know what is. So stop believing that you have to wake up today and have to oblige yourself to be the same person you were yesterday or last week or last decade. You are under no obligation whatsoever to be someone today that you were yesterday. But it's you that has to decide when you're going to let yourself off the hook for that. When are you going to stop punishing yourself for something that happened hours ago, days ago? I'm not saying go around every day and be a jerk, like Groundhog Day, like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, doing crazy things and testing the boundaries of existence. But know that every day you have a choice to live at the highest potential of you in your fullness, in your wholeness. And love yourself no matter what you're doing. Love yourself even when you have glimpses of, well, I'm doing this now, but it kind of smacks of something I've done before. It didn't work out before. You don't have to go back into, well, this happened this way before, so it's probably going to happen this way again. There is no thing written anywhere on a scroll in the heavens somewhere that says you have to revert to your old way of thinking about how you did this thing before and it's going to be the same outcome. That's only you and your beliefs setting yourself up for that failure. Does that make sense? What else is power? Consistency. Momentum. What if you just said, you know what, every day I'm going to wake up and create this kind of consistency in my life and just say, this changes now. Because I love myself too much not to change. That's a leap forward right there. Because for many of us, that might be a stretch for us right there to even say that. And saying it out loud is important because your voice activation is what enlivens the power within you. It is what allows you to embolden, enliven, and set out like a beacon the power that is inside you. Your voice is an activation. Speak your intentions out loud. Writing them down is fantastic, but even better, voice activate your intentions and your desires. This is more important now than ever because we have a lot of 7D energies and the photon bands feeding from Andromeda and Alcyone in the Pleiades. A lot of solar codes are holding let's just say, activations in our DNA that are activated through the throat, through the voice, through our voice box, through the resonant chords in our body, our vocal cords. Speak your activations, speak your intentions, speak your desires, okay? Intention is power. If you have any intention at all to do anything, you have an intention to finally do those 2 loads of laundry that are sitting and calling your name in the laundry room, right? That intention has some momentum behind it, right? If I get the laundry done, then it's something that I feel a sense of accomplishment, or, then I'll have access to my favorite shirt, right? Even something that feels mundane has something in it. It has power. Everything is energy. An intention for you to finish your laundry can still be powerful because, hey, if that's what gives you a sense of accomplishment, who's to judge that? You could have an intention to make $5,000 today. It's really no different from the intention to do your laundry, but what are you going to do with the intention? If you speak it out loud, and I speak out loud my money goals every single day, and depending on where my energy is at, some of it comes in seamlessly and maybe some of it gets dripped over a couple days. But I speak my intentions. I voice activate my desires because I know how powerful that is, especially right now. If you have an intention, what that says to the universe is that I desire to create something. And that is your birthright. That is who you are. You are a creator being. Your vulnerability is power. Your vulnerability is power. Think about it that way. Where you feel like maybe you could use some help with something, that might be a form of vulnerability. Or where you feel like raw and open. There are such important streams of consciousness that come in through that vulnerability. Feeling open. Because usually when we're in a vulnerable place, we feel very present, right? We may feel tender, but we feel open, we feel fragile. There is power behind those emotions. So when you think of yourself being in those most vulnerable moments, maybe you're feeling very tender or fragile about making a certain decision in your life. Understand that in that moment of vulnerability is power, meaning it is a potential waiting to move, waiting to shift. There is the movement of force towards an outcome behind this feeling of vulnerability. And you get to decide what you want to do with it. Shift that power of feeling raw and fragile into feeling like, I'm making intention for this changes now, and whatever that change looks like. That's on the other side of that vulnerability. You have the ability to shift this all the time. Being self-led is power. Not relying on anything outside of you to change your opinions. You know, it's one thing to be flexible and supple in our thinking, but it's another thing to be changing with the wind with, someone else's opinion whose might be stronger than ours, right? Or, those of us who might be people-pleasing or have those tendencies, we usually lack the ability, or we have the contrast of being not self-led. So if you're in a people-pleasing mode and you have this kind of self-sacrificing tendency, an inner saboteur of being a people-pleaser, there's power in that too. Because it's creating your reality. It's creating your world around you. Your physical surroundings are a result of perhaps that inner saboteur driving the bus. But it's power. In a very generic way, it's energy infused with meaning. You get to change the meaning. You are the decider of the movement of that force of power towards an outcome. That's who we are in 3D. We are the deciders of what outcomes look like here. It's really time that you started believing this. There's power in acceptance, like radically self-accepting where we've been. There is nothing more powerful than that to create significant and lasting, sustainable change going forward, is radically self-accepting, okay, this is who I've needed to be to survive, to cope. These are the mechanisms that I had to put in place so that I could just get through something. But I don't desire to be that person anymore. I am not that person anymore. This changes now. If you can radically self-accept who you've been, and that you've needed to be that person because you didn't know any better at the time, there is so much power behind that adds instant momentum, an instant force of intention and will behind whatever changes you're making next. So whatever you're desiring to shift, whatever you're asking to change, to be, do, or have, radically self-accept where you are right now. And anything that brought you to this spot right now, you don't have to dwell on the past, but understand that you right now are a byproduct of everything you've ever thought, felt, acted on, etc. It's brought you to now. So you don't need to dwell on the instances and all of the things that were diminishing to you at the time that made you make certain choices. You don't have to dwell on that. You just have to know that in this present you are the sum total of those choices that you've made, those things that you thought you had to be. If you can radically accept who you are right now, you're also radically accepting all those things that got you here. And when you can do that, and I mean honestly and really do that, there's power, momentum behind that brings your intentions to be, do, and have what you want, not only into fruition, but allows you to stabilize in those energies without needing to give it away or sabotage it. Valuing yourself as the most important thing in your life. This is a huge one. You want to talk about the true definition of power? You in your power? Valuing yourself as the most important thing in your life. Because you are. All of the things that you need to do to maintain relationships, to maintain a life for yourself, your financial commitments, your family commitments, the commitments with your peers, your friends, your work, your career, your livelihood. All of those things are important. But you in that is the common thread, the common narrative throughout all those different areas of life, yes? You are the common denominator. And you are the most important part. You are the center of all of it. Valuing yourself, even if you're in a relationship that's not very good, whether it's with money, whether it's another person, whether it's with a family member, you have to value yourself, your ideals. Your ideals and your values show how you value yourself. Where might those things be mismatched or out of order in your life? This is a really good time to correct that, because you want to talk about really being in your power, is having that unshakable sense of self-possession and self-value above everything else. And that is not selfish. That is the ultimate self-care. That is the ultimate act of self-love. You're not sacrificing anything to anyone by doing that. It is the opposite. You are in a better place to serve your community, your family, what you do for your livelihood, from that ultimate optimum place of self-valuing, self-possession. Please understand that. It is so important. So, what do you really do then to be in your power and to resonate in the place of the highest level of your own personal power every day? Get clear on what you want. What do you want? What do you want out of this life? When you think about, and I don't want to be morbid, but I wish we would talk about death more and demystify it, because everybody fucking dies. So we need to demystify this and take away the morbidity around it, because we all die. That is a common denominator. Just as it's a common denominator that you are the center of your own life, it's a common denominator that you will die. Everyone has this shared experience here on this earth, so let's stop being so crazy about talking about it. But at the end of your life, and when you're close to death, what do you want to say that you are so happy about doing, finally doing the thing, committing to it? What will you celebrate about the years you spent in this matrix, on this earth, living this life, exchanging and sharing with other people? What do you want to be proud of that you accomplished? Sometimes we have to go to that place to reverse engineer what we really want. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing morbid about it. There couldn't be anything more life-affirming than looking at where we are at life from the place where we are close to death. I know that sounds weird, but sit on that one for a little bit. Think about it. Chew on it. And for those of you who are saying, I don't know what I want, bullshit. Sorry. You do know what you want. But unfortunately, there's layers of self-doubt and mistrust that you can actually have it. There's unworthiness, and it's all piled like weighted blankets on top of that desire that you have. You would not be a divine human in this expression of you here in this 3D timeline at this time on planet Earth if you didn't have desires. That would be a complete distortion of all creation for you not to have wants and needs and desires. And you'd be living in opposition of God, source, to say, well, I don't really want anything bigger, and I don't want to take away something from someone else. Enough with the victim and the martyr stuff, okay? What do you want? Not what your victim wants, right? Not what you're supposed to want because of the role you play as a mother, a sister, a wife, a manager. What do you really want? What do you desire? And when you say, I don't know what I want, that comes from a backstory of you that you don't feel valid. That's not a current story of you anymore. You are valid. You are worthy. You are valued. In the eyes of the all that is, you have so much value. You are light. You are energy. You are love in a body. You have every right to claim your birthright of abundance and prosperity, and to move into alignment with your desires, because that is who you are as a creator being. Anything outside of that is a distortion. And so if you're looking at your ability to create through a distorted lens of not valuing yourself, not being good at creating consistency in your life, not being good at loving yourself, respecting yourself, not being good at making yourself the center of your own life because you feel that's wrong or bad or selfish, horseshit, enough with that. You can't create an integrity unless you lose and go through an elimination process of all this garbage, of all that you are not. Be willing to let that go. What you want has to be stronger than any of the inner critic, the inner judge voices within you telling you that it's not meant for you, it's not right for you. You wouldn't have awareness of something if it wasn't meant for you. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be the most outlandish desire in the world, or what feels like the most outlandish desire in the world. You wouldn't have consciousness of it, you wouldn't have awareness of it if it wasn't meant for you. Yep. Anything that's inside your inner judge voice, your inner critic voice telling you that it's not safe for you to have it, it's too big for you to have it, you're not worthy of having it, you've had it before and you screwed it up. None of that is true unless you keep telling yourself, you as the center of your own life, that that is true. Sometimes we mistake the inner judge voice as something that keeps us safe, or it's like the voice of tough love. It's not. It's not really there to help us. It was there to help us at a time where maybe we needed it to be there. And maybe that's how that inner judge got that position of power in our lives, because we really needed it there to be safe at the time. You're not there anymore. You don't have to keep reliving that trauma anymore unless you decide to. Your power is also a decision. Your ultimate power is what you decide is so. If you decide right now, because all that matters is now, what happened yesterday doesn't fucking matter. What happened 2 hours ago doesn't fucking matter. What happens tomorrow doesn't matter. The future is unwritten. All that matters is now. How do you feel about yourself now? What do you think is possible and is a potential for you now? How much do you respect yourself now? How much do you love yourself now? Because anywhere you're looking for outside validation of that, to show you that you're ready to shift, that you're ready to say and mean, this changes now, that's a slippery slope. Because once we start looking for that external validation to show you you're ready, then everything comes to this shift of the power being outside of you. And this is why many of us labor under the illusion that we've given away our power. Our power is somehow outside of us. And that power will then maybe someday let us be ready for whatever. That is completely ass-backwards thinking and not true. And when we start looking for external validation, external conditions to match up with what is right, letting us know it's time, that is the biggest self-swindle that you could possibly be involved in. It is an inner decision. It is an inner intention that projects outward, not the other way around. Oh, so true, because that is the goal, to be able to look back at the end and say it was a life that you were fulfilled and happy about. Yes. For me, that is a giving life of love and support. In order to do that, you must be able to feel that love. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. There is power in your inner judge. So when you're in those moments of the inner critic is, rattling off all the things you can't do, be, have, blah, 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 blah. There's power in that. But you are the ultimate decider of the outcome. So you can take that power of the inner critic, voice, judge, the inner saboteurs that are ruling the day, and take what is the power, the force, the movement of force behind that power, and shift it. Roll it over. You can imagine, and I've done this in my In Alignment program, I'm going to be doing it again when I teach it in August, of teaching you how to kind of brainwash yourself, because we've brainwashed ourselves into self-discounting. But now we kind of have to take that energy, that potential, that power, which is just energy infused with meaning, and roll it over so it has a different meaning. It's all just potential. It's all just energy. It's all really fucking generic. And the only thing that gives it meaning, this generic energy, is us. Here in 3D, because we're the creators and the keepers of this realm. We are always constantly pulling energy. We are walking fields of energy. We are walking batteries and beacons of light. We are energy. And we're matching with different energetic potentials based on what we're feeling, thinking, and doing. And with that, we are creating meaning in our lives with something as raw as like just clay in our hands, because that's all energy is. It's just putty in our hands. We decide what gets infused into energy to create meaning. We get to decide what the movement of force, which is energy, is going to provide as an outcome. You decide, you decide, you decide. Every moment with what you're feeling and thinking, you are making decisions on who you are being. Because you're just taking that raw energy that's putty and clay in your hands and molding it to what vibrational resonance you are exerting. And it's so raw, it's so open, it's so moldable, it's so malleable. It's just that we're habituated to a way of being that it's been, less than satisfactory, less than fulfilling. But if every day is a clean slate, and it is, you're just taking the raw potential of maybe all that hurt, all that trauma, and rolling it over so that it has a different meaning. You get to decide that. And so if you are living at the level of being soul-led, what if you were to look at maybe some of your biggest sabotage patterns? Maybe you're a people pleaser, like I mentioned. How do you mold and shift that and move it over? Move that energetic potential towards something else? Well, how about you start playing with more self-value? So the things that you would have said yes to before that felt obligatory so you could keep the status quo or not rock the boat and just, make things comfortable so, everything is peaceful. What we would have said yes to before in order to do that, maybe we roll that potential over to self-value and we start to say no. That's a great way to start. What if you're one of those people that's constantly trying to control your environment? And you're like hyper vigilant to control every little single bit of minutia in your life to the point where you're exhausted and depleted all the time. Yeah, because you're trying to control all these external outcomes and you're in a place of reaction instead of response. Like, what if you could take a beat in those moments where you would normally attack something that needs to be controlled or manipulated so it feels better for you? What if you just decided to take a deep breath in and say, what is the potential of energy available in this moment? What if I cut off that tendency towards controlling and I just do nothing, say nothing, and know that there's peace for me in sometimes just doing nothing, just letting it be, letting the outcome be what it wants to be, and then responding to that outcome in the highest and best way for you. And knowing that that moment of taking a beat, being in that peace, that there is liberation for you in the spaces in between an action and a reaction. That's a great way for the controller to kind of roll that potential of energy that would have been self-diminishing before into something that is elevating you to a higher station of consciousness. What if your saboteur is you're really restless and you're constantly distracted? Stop. Get present. What is available in this potential? Because it's just energy. When we feel we're in those moments of being so restless, the grass is always greener, and I know I should finish this project, but bright shiny object syndrome, here's the next thing I have to do. What if we just decided to just be present? Do I need to take another outward action in order to somehow validate to myself that I can do all the things? What if I just know and I just decide that I can do whatever I decide I want to do? But does this thing require my doing. That's power. That's you flipping that power potential over into the contrast that actually benefits you instead of diminishes you. What if you're in the victim or the martyr inner saboteur paradigm where everything is an attack, everything that is, happening is an outward action, a behavior, someone talking to you, someone doing something to you, right? It's being committed against you all the time. What if you stopped, took a beat, and said, what is the power potential here? How do I shift this on its ear? If you're asking from the soul-led part of you, you're moving into a different energy matrix where the question and the solution exist in the same instant. It's about dropping in and being present. When we're living at the level of these saboteurs, where you're reacting from a place of ego, which is all based on habituation, former behaviors, former thinking, etc., blah, 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 blah. We keep dragging our old backstory of self into the present over and over again. What if you cut that off at the heart by dropping in and getting really present with your soul-led self and saying, how do I shift this over? So if you're in the victim or martyr reaction mode, ask yourself, where is this outward action, this extension and projection in my outer world, giving me a mirror to see an inner belief or a story of me that I keep reliving, I keep basing my whole reality off of? What if you just did that and allow the answers to come without forcing them in any way, just being present? When we don't allow ourselves to be present in the moment, we rob ourselves of incredibly expansive outcomes that are right there. They're right at the tip of our nose. But if we don't give ourselves that moment to be in our power, and everything about being in your power is being present with what is, that is real power. All of these things that I've illustrated and talked about, of course, they're all different representations of energy infused with meaning that is, synonymous with power. But real power is loving yourself enough to stop when you are in that momentum of feeling diminished, of feeling hurt, of feeling pain, grief, sorrow, blame, etc. The power is in stopping and just being present with what is. Do I need to keep feeling this way? Do I need to keep doing this thing? Do I need to keep responding to this person in the same way, hoping for some different outcome to show itself, right? It's the power of presence. That creates the greatest force of momentum towards a more desired outcome. Power of presence. So I invite you to maybe watch this again. Maybe there were some parts that really spoke to you here, but I hope that this energy can resonate with you throughout the weekend and maybe provide some greater insights and revelations for you. I brought this information to you from my heart because we've all been there. I've been there. I know what it's like to live at a level of devaluing myself and being diminished and feeling like I don't matter, or nothing I do is good enough, or I'm not good enough to anybody else, let alone myself, really. And that's always a reflection of an inner belief that I'm not enough for me. When did we decide that we weren't enough? And is that still valid? Does that feel real anymore? Does that feel like it's going to take you to where you're asking to go? To be momentum for what you're asking to become? It can't. And it works off of an old grid of fear, lack, want, limitation. We are not, as we are in this New Earth timeline and anchoring it, we are not there anymore, but it has to be a decision on your part that that is so. That this changes now. So I really hope that this helps you, and I want to wish you all so much love and peace. Bye-bye.